It's still happy hour with John Gaskins. This round's on me.
If you're looking for some good stories in a life of football, Curt Mallory might be able to step up to the plate here. The head coach at Indiana State since 2017. Of course, the giant win over the Jackrabbits last year in Brookings. A fun story about trying to get out of here after that win. But your dad played for Woody Hayes, or coached with Woody Hayes.
Yeah.
And you played for Bo Schembechler. Yeah. Goodness. And, of course, his father was, but before the last couple of years, at the top of the list of all-time Indiana football coaches. So it's great to have you here. Yeah. But when I rattle off names like that, I mean, what kinds of things do you think about? Just you're literally born into this kind of life.
Yeah,
you've met a lot of people.
Well, it was an easy profession to get into.
Yeah,
and to see the difference that my father made in a lot of young men's lives.
Yeah,
and both my brothers got into coaching. I followed them, and certainly this is a great profession.
Yeah,
and been very blessed to be part of it and meet a lot of great people.
So did he have any stories about coaching for Woody Hayes?
I mean,
that's a rhetorical question. What's your favorite?
Well, he had quite a few of them. I think one of the things, he was responsible for the projector. And he would tell that story. And there was a few projectors that apparently Coach Hayes had broken along the way. And my dad was responsible to go get a new one.
Yeah.
And they told him this would be the last one. And so he came up with a way to bolt it into the ground so he couldn't pick it up and throw it on the ground. But when he would tell that, I think I enjoyed hearing him laugh. He'd get into tears when he would tell the story. A lot of great stories, a lot of great memories.
Yeah, and he was kind of, first of all, you're probably a young guy, 10, 12, 14 years old when he's the head coach at Colorado, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, what do you remember about those days? Because at the time, I mean, sometimes it goes in and out at Colorado. Sometimes it's a tough job.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a great job. What was that like for him? What did you notice from him in those years as a young guy?
They had some great years. They went to the Orange Bowl, won what was the Big 8 championship back then. Just the games and playing against Washington, play against Barry Switzer at Oklahoma and Tom Osborne at Nebraska. I mean, it was just really some special times. My sister was actually a student at Colorado and never left, and made that her home. And she, of course, we then moved to DeKalb, Illinois, when my dad got the Northern Illinois job. But she stayed out there, and we go out there quite a bit and got a lot of great memories.
Yeah. All right. Playing for Bo Schembechler. Mm-hmm. I mean, first of all, just getting recruited by Bo Schembechler. I'd love to hear when you first meet him. I'm guessing maybe he comes to your house. Yeah. But your impressions.
Well, there's a history. There's a Miami of Ohio connection that goes way back. My uncle played for him. My Uncle Dave played for him at Miami of Ohio. He was his first captain. And then when Coach Schembechler went to Michigan, that's when my dad replaced him as a head coach at Miami of Ohio. And so we've always had a strong bond with the families. And then, of course, I had two brothers that played for Bo. And so I was the third. And it was easy for me to follow in the footsteps. My dad told me, through the recruiting process, and I always knew what he meant, not that I was a real highly recruited player, but he said you can go anywhere you want in the country, but you're going to decide between two schools.
Yeah.
One was Indiana, where he was at, and
right.
Was Michigan.
Yeah.
And I knew what he meant because he knew that I'd be taken care of at both places.
How tough of a decision, honestly, was that for you?
It was very hard
Okay.
Because at the time when I made a decision, Indiana was rolling.
Yeah.
They had beaten Ohio State 2 years in a row, had beaten Michigan. Michigan State had won the Big Ten championship. And I just always thought I was going to play for my dad. I really never thought anything other. And, kind of towards the end, it kind of went a different direction. But no regrets, just what a great experience I had going there. But it was a very difficult decision.
What pulled you away? What pulled you in that direction?
Well, I think at the end, my brothers had played there, and that was kind of the draw, And I think when I moved to Bloomington, Indiana, I spent a lot of time at their practices. I spent a lot of time in the weight room. I worked out with the team.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of went through 5 years with them, and I think when the time came, I was ready to kind of get away. And,
Sure.
But then I was very fortunate to come back twice. Once as a graduate assistant and one as a full-time assistant at Indiana, and my parents still live in Bloomington.
Sure, and I want to get to that time just coaching with your dad, but first, I understand, I think your sophomore year was Bo's last, and then it was Gary Moeller.
Yes.
But I gotta hear a playing for Bo story, an inspiring speech or a dressing down at practice or something funny.
Well, when I did, you were talking about the recruiting process, and it was kind of Coach Schembechler had some health problems my senior year in high school and didn't coach in the bowl game, and Coach Moeller did, and that was my brother Doug's senior year, and so the recruiting process was probably a little bit delayed. And so I went on my official visit. He brought me in and sat me down. He said, Curt, I coached your uncle. I coached both your brothers. They were both captains for me. I haven't watched the film, but the staff says you're one heck of a player, but I'm going to offer you a scholarship. And, of course, I decided to go there. Yeah. And so during camp, during two-a-days, I was running around, and I hear this, "Hey, Mallory." And so I of course, go running up to him, and he pulls me to the side and says, "I should have watched the film." And I laughed because I knew what he was talking about, but it was his way of telling you that he cared, and he was obviously a big influence on our whole family.
Wow. I've been given the wrap-up sign, so I will ask you about coaching with your dad at Indiana and what that meant to you, because there were some big wins and some good seasons those 2 years you were there as well.
Very fortunate to get off to a great start in my profession. Working for my father, and then later working for one of his assistants at Ball State, Bill Lynch. And, that's the big key to it, when you get into this profession, that you get around great people. And I was very fortunate, very blessed to get off to a great start in my profession, and I owe it all to my dad and my first opportunity with Bill Lynch.
Well, we don't have time to talk about the story about you trouncing through Brookings, beating the Jackrabbits, and then spending some time at Gibbs with Jackson Rentschler and the Rentschler family here.
Yeah, love those people.
Big Indiana State supporters, the biggest Indiana State fans in Sioux Falls. But, hey, thanks for joining us today. Good luck this season.
Great. Thank you very much.
Curt Mallory, head coach at Indiana State.